Hollow Knight is a 2D Metrovania in a classic cartoon style, and it is loved by a lot of people because it's just really well made and very fun. And I just decided I was going to play it and make a video about it, because why not? So the game starts with you falling down a hole, and then once you hit the ground, you absolutely break your knees, and then the game just lets you walk around and beat up some grass. Basically, all the stuff in the environment is breakable, so that's very fun. And I really like breaking some stuff. And also here you fight a bug. And something really interesting about Hollow Knight is that everything is bugs. Like, you live in a bug world, which is kind of crazy. And since the game is titled Hollow Knight, you just think that's who you're playing as, but it turns out that he's just one of the knights, and there's plenty of them. So, what even is his name? For the sake of the video, we'll just call him John Hollow Knight. So John Hollow Knight walks over and interacts with some random rock thing, and he explains to you that you could heal if your soul bar is full. And you gain it by beating up random stuff, like this random bird I found over here. So after I dealt with that bird, I just collected the coins, ran over here, beat up grass, and stepped on some Lego bricks. And this is how it looks when you heal. It looks really cool. The cool special effects are definitely one of the reasons why Hollow Knight was so successful. After getting hit by some random stalagmite and doing some more parkour and fighting stuff, I found this weird looking blue thing that just gives you more health. Then I went over here, but the floor was weak, so I broke my knees again. So yeah, then I found this other rock, and it basically told me to follow the law and stuff. And yeah, it just welcomed me to Hollow Nest, and I was on my way out. And if you thought that John Hollow Knight wasn't strong, just look at this. He is absolutely destroying this giant door with just a nail. I've never actually completed Hollow Knight, so if it does actually get revealed that he has a name, I'm gonna get so many comments saying that his name isn't John Hollow Knight. But I'm gonna keep doing it anyway and keep beating up this awesome grass. And now I'm in Dirtmouth. A name like that makes me question why I left the cave. And this random guy named Elderbug is very surprised to see me because not many people come by this place. Like, instead of calling it Dirtmouth, they could have called it, like, Bug Place or something, just not Dirtmouth. It's all about the branding, people. Do you think that you would go to Disneyland if it was called Dirtland? And then I go to rest on this bench, which is basically this game's version of saving. And I just like to sit there until John Hollow Knight falls asleep. But I don't really let him sleep for long, and I get up almost immediately and run away. Mainly because I don't like Elderbug watching me sleep. And then I run over, ignore this random well, and beat up more grass. Okay, but eventually I just jump down. And John Hollow Knight has seriously got to get better about sticking those landings. But now I'm in the Forgotten Crossroads and immediately beat up this random bug that was just living down here. And I also broke one of these money rocks that just gives you a lot of money. And moving on, John Hollow Knight comes across this big structure, and inside is this weird looking egg thing, and one of my favorite characters. And he says that the egg is weird, and he also says that we look pretty strong. Oh, he has no idea. And he also says that his name is Quarrel. He also says that the egg stinks. But I'm not going to spend too much time in here, mainly because I think it looks creepy, and I go fighting more random bugs and stuff. And over here is our first boss, but it's really more of a mini boss because it's not that big of a deal. So I should be able to handle this pretty easily. Nope, no, I'm out of here. Goodbye. Okay, round 2, buddy. I'm basically full health, and you're about to get absolutely destroyed. And now he's dead. Super easy, first try. And now I come over here, and I save one of these little caterpillars. And he burrows into the ground. Seems like a lot of effort for one caterpillar, but you'll see why in a bit. So then I quickly ascend to the surface and take a quick rest. Definitely gotta remember to rest in this game because that's how you save. The first time I played Hollow Knight, I actually didn't save, and then I ended up crashing and lost an hour of progress. This game really never crashes, by the way. I don't know how that even happened. So then I ran over to this random place with a lot of flying things that are really annoying to deal with because they could just come out of nowhere. And then I went over here and got blocked by one of these things, of course. And then over here is where all the caterpillars live, and then this guy will give you money for bringing all the caterpillars back. So not only do you get to see this place fill up with caterpillars, you also can get rich from it. But then I went down here, and you see some papers left on the floor, and this guy is my #1 favorite character because he sells you maps, and you can use the maps to actually know where you're going. And even though this was my second time playing the game, I was still getting lost all the time, so I definitely need to buy myself a map. But it's really useless unless you have a bunch of other stuff to make it better. So I went back to the surface where they had just started up a shop and talked to the map guy's wife, and it turns out that I actually did not have enough money for the compass. And the compass was literally all I went up there for because the compass actually lets you see where you are on your map. So I jumped back down and destroyed literally anything that moved. John Hollow Knight does not have any empathy for random emo looking bugs. Eventually all my effort paid off and I was able to buy it. But the compass is a charm, which basically means that you need to sit down on a bench and equip it. And you can only have a certain amount of charms at a time. But would you look at that? Now I actually know where I'm going. Now that I knew where I was going, I decided to come over here, which is like a mine, and you just walk around and you could break stuff that shatters to pieces and it looks really cool. And when you come down here, there's this random emo bug that's mining and it's singing some really weird song about death and stuff. Her name is Mila, and it turns out she's just mining so that way she could get rich. But sadly, this game isn't Minecraft, and no matter how much you yearn for the mines, you cannot mine. And I went up this random elevator to go over to this random statue thing, and you could use it to fill up your soul bar. I didn't really need to, but I just hit it anyway. And after getting out of there, I just ran through this random hallway with a bunch of enemies. And there's also one of these annoying jumpy guys there that just keep jumping on you and are really annoying to deal with. And just look at my health. But it's also kind of my fault because I am not the best Hollow Knight player. And over here you can see that there's another caterpillar stuck in a jar, but I can't really do anything about that right now until later in the game. And over here there's a mini boss that I can't really do anything about until later in the game too. So you could definitely see that I'm gonna have to do some things later on that I can't really do now. And then over here, I came across a new enemy that's just annoying because it spits weird goo at you and it's just hard to deal with. But it got hit by a stalactite. But this is basically a mini boss because they're just sending a bunch of these things at you, and then you need to get rid of all of them in order for the door to open. And after that, I went over here and there was some water that you could actually splash around in and it fills up your soul bar. But I had a full soul bar because I am just a pro. Yeah, that's not really true. And then I came across these big spiky worm things that are just annoying. But what isn't annoying is this thing that you just insert some money and then a bell appears, and when you ring the bell, a giant ant runs out of the darkness and turns out to be basically a bus, which you could use to fast travel to places. And I fast traveled back to Dirtmouth, and then this little cutscene plays where you're going through the tunnels all the way back to Dirtmouth. And then you go up this elevator, flip this switch, and now you're in business. And then Elderbug is absolutely baffled. Then I went back to the map shop and bought a quill, which means that I can actually update my map as I go along. And now my map's actually starting to look good. And over here is a caterpillar that took me a really long time to find, but I just had to show it in this video because I want it to be easier if any of you are going to play Hollow Knight for the first time. Then I decided I was going to go and fight my first real boss, and I forgot that this guy was in the way. Normally you just ignore him, but I completely forgot he was here, so I just decided to do the whole fight. And then I came over to this obvious boss fight room and fought some bugs. And then out of nowhere, this guy named the False Knight appears out of the sky. And this is an actual real boss fight where you avoid his attacks and hit him and stuff. And eventually he falls over and a weird teddy bear face appears and you just gotta beat him up. But eventually I just get absolutely clapped. The second time definitely went a lot better though because I was able to get a lot of damage on him and then he got so mad that he literally fell through the floor and died. Oh wait, he actually survived. We can't have that. Goodbye, buddy. Well, this is very extra, that's for sure. And it actually turns out that he was really small. And it turns out that his weapon was literally just a roly-poly on a stick. And then after that, you get a lot of money. It's not enough to buy the Apple Vision Pro and it never will be, but it's still a lot of money. After all that, I decided to buy some pins to make my map look fancy. And then I go over to this weird place, and then the first thing I notice, obviously, is that, there is literally no grass for me to take my anger out on. Oh, and there's skulls everywhere. And then you meet this weird snail character that I'm just going to call the Wicked Witch of the West. And then the Wicked Witch of the West gives you a weird spell thing, and then you just immediately jump into it, and you look like you're gaining power, and you're just about to become absolutely overpowered, but then you flop on the ground. Now I have a brand new ability, and when I wake up, turns out the Wicked Witch of the West trapped me in a cage or something. And the Wicked Witch of the West says that I need to unalive some random creature if I want to get out of this place, so I go do that. Remember this guy from earlier? Well, now I could actually fight him because I can just absolutely destroy him with my new ability. This is actually the first boss or mini-boss I was able to get rid of without actually dying. And I got a new charm that makes my soul bar fill up faster. Then I accidentally came across this other boss, and my strategy was to try and dodge his attacks, which was basically impossible, and I just ended up dying eventually. And on my second go, I decided to just run around like a headless chicken, and that actually worked because I ended up beating it. And these boss death animations are very extra. And then I go in here, and there's this little guy that just looks completely normal. But I snap him out of it, and it turns out that he's just gone insane down here, and he's gonna go back up to Dirtmouth, and his name is Sly, and now he's gonna be a shopkeeper up there. And yeah, he sells some pretty decent stuff. Some of the stuff you actually need to progress in the story, which is kinda crazy. Then I went back over here to absolutely destroy this guy, and when I beat him, I unlock an entirely new area. And this place has so much grass. And it's called Greenpath, so yeah, definitely a much better name than Dirtmouth. And since this is a completely new area, I need a new map for this place, and luckily, my favorite character was here. Then I buy a map and leave. And then I follow the main character of Silksong to see if the game will ever come out, and she runs away, which I am guessing means that it won't ever exist. And then I do this other mini boss fight that I absolutely can't stand because it is just really hard. But this is seriously the point when the difficulty just starts to escalate like crazy. But then eventually I beat him and I just run away because I am done with this room. Then I see this guy getting eaten by a bug who looks like he could be John Hollow Knight's father, and now I have to fight the bug because John Hollow Knight's father is sleeping. I wasn't doing too great, so eventually I just started camping and eventually was able to finish the boss fight. And then he gets really mad at me for saving him, which makes me regret saving him, and then he calls himself Zote the Mighty, even though he couldn't even fight that thing. And he says that if I ever do that again, then I'll see why his weapon is called Life Ender. And if he keeps talking to me like that, he's gonna find out why they call my weapon Pain in the Butt. And then I find the character from Silksong, and she gets mad at me and wants to kill me, probably because she knows that John Hollow Knight kills anything that moves. Then an epic boss fight ensues, and this is probably one of my favorite boss fights to ever be in a video game because it doesn't feel like a boss fight. It feels like you're fighting against a player because it's just like her moveset is set up in a way that it just seems like a player's moves. But it's still a very hard boss fight, and I'm still not good at video games, so I die. And then I die again to this absolutely insane combo that isn't even fair, like oh my god. I die 3 more times, and then I'm actually able to get the final hit, and she flies away with her grappling hook like Batman. And now I actually have the dash ability, which is probably the best ability in the game. Then this weird thing happens where a bunch of voices just start talking to John Hollow Knight, and then these weird ghostly things appear. And it all fades to white, and yeah, that's the end of that boss fight. Now I could dash, which is really cool. Remember the caterpillar that we couldn't save earlier? Well, now we can actually save it, and now that is the perfect way to end the video. Thank you for watching, and hope you liked this video. If you liked it, then you should watch this video of me playing Pixel Gun, I guess. And subscribe. Just mowing the lawn.